If you had the number one pick in the NBA draft and had to pick the future star player, do you think you'd get it right? Let's play a game of who should go first. It's simple. I pick 3 mystery players from a draft class, and you pick who should go first. Let's begin. Round 1. Nice and easy. We'll make this one a bit more difficult. But let's go again one more time. Pat yourself on the back if you got 3 out of 3. But did you notice among these 3 players that they all had something in common? I'll tell you, those picks all took a different path to the NBA. In fact, all of them played abroad. None came from college. And this year, that could be the same, but for the top 3 picks. America is no longer the key to the NBA draft. I spent hours making this video on why, so I could share it with you. And that's because my name is Roti. I love basketball, I love to talk basketball, and I hope one day you can share that same love for basketball as I. Traditionally, top picks in the NBA share the same path to the league. After high school, you go to college, and from there, you enter the draft. This is a guaranteed structure that you can bet on to get you into the league, because 88% of the top 5 picks in the last 20 NBA drafts have done it this way, except from a few which I'll talk about later. And it's always been this way since the beginning of the league. When the league began, there was a hardship rule in place. Players typically went to college trying to get to the NBA draft, and if you wanted to enter the draft, you had to have been graduated. But if you could prove that you had financial hardship, then the league might allow you to declare early. This rule changed in 1971 with Spencer Hayward, after he fought a case against the NBA to get drafted early, and won. Now, college wasn't required. You could get drafted straight from high school, but high school drafting was a risk. Physically, players weren't ready for the NBA. So they continued to draft players that had college experience. Just look at the time that Michael Jordan spent in college, Magic Johnson spent in college, and even Larry Bird. But in 1995, the Timberwolves decided to take on that risk. Kevin Garnett became the first player in 20 years to get drafted straight out of high school. After that, we saw notable names such as Kobe Bryant, Tracy McGrady, and LeBron all join from high school. But in 2005, that came to an end. Despite the successes of LeBron and Kobe, there were many failures. And so when the collective bargaining agreement came around, there was a partial reversal. You could declare for the draft, but you had to at least be 1 year removed from high school. So players would spend a year in college and then enter the draft. And this is where the term one and done came from. But not all high school players saw the advantage of this. In fact, one decided that he was going to take a different path. College benefits some. Look, here's a picture of Zion Williamson in high school, and here's a picture of him 1 year after college. Now, that 1 year in college did help him bulk up, even though he didn't need it. But he played under the legendary Coach K, who I'm sure taught him a few things, and he gained a few IQ points that helped him in the NBA. But believe it or not, that was never going to make a difference to whether he would get drafted. NBA players all have different builds. Some are tall and heavy, others are slight and featherlight. Look at Allen Iverson. He played against a 300-pound Shaq. It didn't matter. If your skill level was good enough for the NBA, you were going to be just fine. Jennings realized this and took a different path. You may know him as a voice on the Gill podcast, but in 2008, he was a high school phenom. His slight, scrawny build was everything he needed to kill on the court. At Oak Hill, he was killing it. And if there was a high school award, he won it. He was clearly up next. He did want to go to college, but he decided that he was going to skip that. He joined L'Automatica Roma, a EuroLeague team, on a 1-year deal signing for $1.6 million. He said he didn't need college to get drafted, and he was going to prove it. He would spend a year in the EuroLeague, and despite what many said against it, Jennings proved he didn't need college. He found a loophole and still got drafted, going 10th to the Bucks. Not to mention that this was above a Jeff Teague who averaged 19 points in his second year in college, and a Tyler Hansborough who averaged 20 and 9 across his 4-year college career. Meanwhile, Jennings' stats: 5 points, 2 rebounds, and 2 assists. If those were college stats, there would be no chance he's getting drafted. His journey to the NBA highlighted the prestige of foreign leagues. By playing abroad, the skills and the IQ that he had gained outweighed his stats. It was the new blueprint for a 5-star recruit to secure the bag early before getting to the league. But it took a while for others to catch on. The problem was, Jennings' career didn't live up to the expectation. He had an 8-year career and it was a sub-all-star at best. This may have poorly reflected on his journey to the NBA. So what was it going to take for people to understand that this was the new path? It took you subscribing to help me make another video. I'm joking. It actually took... I'm pretty sure that the 3 key factors that triggered this new wave was overseas talent making their way to the NBA, 5-star high school recruits making their way abroad, and money. In 2018, Giannis cemented himself as MVP. Jokic was on the rise, finishing 4th in MVP conversations, and Luka Doncic has just burst into the scene. Luka would say how easy it was to score in the NBA, proving analysts wrong and showing how comfortable he was on the court. At the same time, there was an 18-year-old named LaMelo Ball, who was predicted to go top 3 in the next draft, and he decided to make a decision to play in Australia, not college. Whilst over there, he would play very well, averaging 17 points, 7 assists, and 8 rebounds. He would get drafted 3rd overall and enter the NBA league ready. Following that year, he would win Rookie of the Year and look like a magician on the court. Seeing LaMelo's success, the NBA decided that they needed to create a program for league-ready high schools, so they created a team called G League Ignite. This was to help fund them, but also help them bypass college. We saw 2 5-star recruits, Jalen Green and Jonathan Kuminga, take part in this process. And then in 2021, Giannis would win his first title and finals MVP. Green and Kuminga would get drafted 2nd and 7th, and not to mention Josh Giddey, who would go 6th after playing in the Australian League. It was also this season we had accepted the dominance of Nikola Jokic, and he was putting the league on notice. Surrounding this all up, the success of international players removed the stigma on the level of skills within non-NBA leagues. International leagues were going to teach players new skills that they weren't going to learn in college. International basketball teaches the fundamentals which tend to get lost in America due to the uber athleticism. I believe recruits started to pick up on this. They realized there was an opportunity internationally that they weren't able to get in America. In this small time frame, we saw a shift in the behavior of top prospects. They no longer needed college. They were guaranteed a spot in the league no matter where they went. They saw if Brandon Jennings averaged 5 points and got drafted, so can I. It only made sense for them to play as pros. Playing against grown men taught them a physicality they were going to experience in the NBA and not in college, along with what it meant to be a professional and gaining that on-court basketball IQ. And finally, there was the money element. Players could go pro in a non-NBA league and get paid to do so. At least, if they were to get injured, they would get compensated for their time and dedication, compared to in college, where in college your career is ruined and you tend to gain nothing from it, losing your scholarship and therefore your degree. This is not to say that college is useless, that you're not going to get anything from it. For example, Rob Dillingham. He made a name for himself in Kentucky, and I would actually argue that if he didn't play in Kentucky, he probably wasn't going to get the spotlight that we're seeing on him. Some of you might still be saying, what about the G League program or the Overtime Elite League? Those leagues are questionable. In the Overtime Elite League, players range from the age 16 to 18. There's a physicality jump, whether you like it or not. Amen and Asar Thompson, did you not see them last year? Look at everything they were doing. It was unreal. But it's because of who they were playing against, to an extent. Now, okay, well, the G League program is better than Overtime Elite, but the league is nothing compared to a grown man's league in Europe. Playing pro abroad is now valued more than pre-NBA opportunities in America. Times are changing. Are you learning new skills? Are you developing new basketball IQ? Are you learning how to play as a professional? Last year, all the talk was about Matas Buzelis. He was going to be the projected #1 pick, but now he's predicted to go outside of the top 5. 3 new picks have secured the limelight, all who have played abroad. And it's not that Matas played in college, he actually played in the G League team, which further proves my point. As a fan, I'm excited for talent like this to enter the league. The standard of play is likely to skyrocket. New players are likely to be a combination of an athletic freak with refined fundamentals. All in all, that makes for an elite player. And not to mention, whilst we're seeing our GOATs aging in the NBA, it's time to start looking for the new face of the league. Will that be a current player that we have now, or will it be from the new shift that a hybrid star could take over? Thank you very much for watching this video, guys. If you agree with my statements, comment down below. If you disagree, comment down below. If you like the video, please like. Look, here are some videos that you might want to watch also on my channel. And I guess until next time.